time out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Pressbox Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, April 30th, 2025, and the Philadelphia Eagles are still Super Bowl champions. Welcome to the Philly Pressbox Radio Roundtable as we celebrate our 11th anniversary tonight. We will be brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and the STT Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. And Chet, the NFL draft is in the books. It looks like Howie Roseman and company have drafted some help. We'll certainly talk in detail about that. The Phillies are playing like the near 500 team they are. I can't wait for hitting season to start, Chet. We got plenty to talk about in Philly sports.
Yeah, as always, Bill, you know that's the case. But, you know, when you're the Super Bowl champions, the draft isn't quite as big a deal as it is most years otherwise. But there's certainly plenty to discuss, and we will do that. The Phillies have won 3 in a row, Bill. Get excited. It was a little hairy last night, of course. But, yeah. Hey, happy 11th anniversary to us. That's quite an accomplishment, I think.
Yeah, I think it is. I wasn't sure whether we were supposed to call it our 11th birthday or 11th anniversary. I wasn't sure which one, but any way you look at it, Chet, this is show number 546. And doing a little math.
Go ahead.
I did a little math, and in 11 years, you could only do 572 shows.
If you do one a week.
And we have done 546. We have missed 26 shows in 11 years, 2.4 per year. And there's been some years I know we had perfect attendance. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah, good for us. And you know, it's been a lot of fun. We'll certainly talk a lot about that as we go along. Hey, we have a great guest tonight going to join us here shortly, and Pro Football Hall of Famer, Philly sports legend, our friend Ray Didinger. He's going to talk Eagles in the draft with us.
None better. Yeah, there is no one better at all. And Bill, as I checked my Excel spreadsheet of our show history, I learned that Ray Diddy was our special guest for our 4th, our 5th, and our 10th anniversary shows. And now here again to help us mark our 11th anniversary, except we're still waiting for Ray. Come on, Ray.
Well, he'll be with us, but while we're waiting on Ray, let's jump over. Let's talk about the Phillies for a few minutes while we're waiting on Ray. Chet, you know, I am not an alarmist when it comes to this stuff. That bullpen's got a problem.
Oh,
it's real. And unless there's injuries out there that are causing some arm problems, this bullpen isn't good enough to get it done.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. I mean, it got bad at the end of last year, and now it's worse at the beginning of this year. We talked about it before. They lost a couple of guys who were high leverage guys late in the season last year in Hoffman and Estevez. And now Romano's been really up and down this year. Or Ryan Kerkering has had some real good outings. He had a couple in a row, and then he was awful last night. Not helped by the defense, though.
Yeah,
Rojas and Turner both had some misplays, bad throws, misjudgments, whatever. So that certainly didn't help matters. And they almost gave away that they should have had easily. They did get the win, which is the bottom line. But, yeah, it's way too hairy for a guy with, worries about his blood pressure like me, Bill.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I think, they got the win, and that's the bottom line. But if you're looking at this thing every night and seeing what you're seeing, if you're not concerned with that bullpen, and even Alvarado got himself in a jam last night, but then turns around, strikes out the side with just gas. Probably the best 3 batters he's ever faced, or we've seen him face.
Yeah.
To get out of that, I don't really know the answer at this point. Could he have left Wheeler in just a little longer so you don't need 3 relievers? You only need 2. It's a tough situation that they've got right now. Like I say, these guys, unless they find that it's a mechanical issue or something like that, it's not going to get better.
Yeah, and you don't want to leave Wheeler in much longer than he was in. He went 6 2/3, and he threw 106, 108 pitches, something like that. Which 40 years ago was nothing, but
Right.
in today's game, you throw 100, 110 pitches, you're done. It's time. Get him out of there. So,
Well, the problem is
it's a
though
shame.
that you end up using a reliever, but you only get an out of him or two outs
Yeah.
out of him. And
Yep.
and in this case, it was Strom who had to come out and put that fire out. They needed it, but then he's used up. So
Yep.
and now tonight you've used, or used 3 of them last night. Who you have left to use tonight? You better get a good outing from your starter.
And the starter tonight is Sanchez, who had to leave last game early. So they're going to be monitoring him very closely, checking him out after every single inning. And, they say he has no limitations, should be okay. Until we see it, there's no guarantee of that. So if he's, feeling some sort of pain or struggles after 3 or 4 innings and they have to go to the pen, boy, that's a recipe for disaster.
It is. It is. Hey, I wanted to throw something out. The Philly fans are getting a little impatient with that Trey Turner. I've seen posts, is he the biggest bust ever, this and that. I think it's a little early for that. He had a handful of hits last night.
Yeah.
I think he'll heat up and probably be fine. It's only, almost the first day of May. Long, long way to go. But what's your take on Turner? Honestly, his defense is bothering me more than his offense. He's not very good at shortstop.
Yeah, and that was the case last year, too. The defense was more of a bother than the offense because before the hamstring, he was having a fine season last year. Now, this year, I thought he started off playing very, very well defensively. And all of a sudden now, over the last week or two, he's made a lot of bonehead kind of plays. So that is a concern. And even a couple of the throws last night, that one where he threw to JT and it was, 15 feet down the line, JT somehow got there for it, but that's kind of scary. And he pulled Harper off the bag another time. So it's a definite concern. I'm sure he's working on it, but if this keeps up, they're going to have to consider what a lot of people have said over the last couple of years, a potential move to left or center field at some point. Hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Well, and Robbie asked a question, and she's asked this several times before, who's available out there that's better? And at this point, probably nobody. But you still have Ranger Suarez. And I think that's something that I'm finding kind of interesting. It seems he's ready to come, but they're not bringing him up. Now, either he's really not ready or they don't know where to slot him. I'm a little surprised because we're going to get Walker again tomorrow night, right?
Yeah, I believe so. They did want to stretch Suarez out to 90 or 95 pitches. I think he did 70 something last time out. So one more outing in the minors, I think, and if he's fine, he'll be back up and presumably go into the rotation, replacing Walker. But who knows? Like you said, with the bullpen struggling, they may have to consider putting him in the pen because they're not going to do that with Walker.
Right. And then you have 3 lefties out there. That is a little bit of an unusual situation too. So lot going on for the Phillies right now. And like I say, it's early, but every week we're going to say it's early till it's late. You know what I mean? They gotta get this thing figured out, and they're still inconsistent at the plate.
But they are 16-13. They're still very much in the wild card race. I know it's early to even talk about that. They are, I think, tied for the final wild card spot right now with the Reds. So, it's not like it's a disastrous season. But, keep in mind, the Braves have gotten hot. They started off 0-8 or 0-9. Now they're close to 500 and just a couple of games behind the Phillies. And, the Braves are a better team than they showed, even though they're having some injury problems yet again. The Mets look like the best team, not only in the National League, but in all of baseball. About those teams out west. You got 3 of them already looking like playoff teams, and one that's right on the edge, the Diamondbacks, who happen to come to town this weekend for a huge series against our Phillies. So, yeah, there are things to be concerned about for sure. And the good news is long way to go. And we are getting Suarez back. Andrew Painter, still down in the minors. And they hope to have him back or in the rotation in July if all goes well.
Right. So he's going to throw at Lehigh Valley right this weekend, I believe. And they're seeming to be on a little faster track for him than it seemed like they were going to be on. So it will be interesting to see what happens with him.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody's saying, bring on Ray. Where's Ray? Yeah, we want Ray. So come on, Ray.
Where are you, Ray? We had confirmation from Ray.
We did. Yeah, early this morning. In fact, this afternoon, he emailed me about something. So hopefully Ray is okay and that there's not like some kind of connection issue on his end. But in the meantime, let's check some of our comments. Relievers have been shaky, but it is early. Hopefully they'll figure it out. That is for sure, PJ. Adam says, hey, guys, what's up? Go Eagles and Philly. I think we got a new viewer right there, or at least a new one to comment. I was doing some back and forth this morning with Phil Stifle on his morning show, and a few people who were watching that said they will be tuning in tonight to check us out. So, hopefully that is the case. A lot of anniversary greetings from Bob Moser and the like. Is this accurate? Philly's up 2-0, 3-0 already? That's nice.
How about that?
Bob wouldn't lie, I don't think.
No.
He says he has a lot of faith in them, too, which is good. Robbie checking in. Who's available out there? Oh, you said that already. Yeah, we don't know. We do not know. So I don't know, Bill, but they got to get it figured out. They have faith in their pitching coach, Caleb Coffin. So hopefully he's got some answers for them, because while we say it's early, that means there's a long, long way to go. So they do have to figure it out, because, I think this is a playoff team with all the talent they have, offensively and in that starting rotation. They better be a playoff team.
Yeah, well, you can have all the pitching coaching in the world, but if you throw a meatball up there with a 2-run, with 2 guys on base like they threw up last night, Kirkering did,
yeah,
it don't matter. You could have hit that pitch out, Chet.
Yeah, it's tough watching some of these relievers on occasion. So
think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Now I see Ray is trying to connect, so that is a good sign. That is a good sign.
And then he went away.
So Ray is
on the way.
Ray is
Ray.
on the way. So in the meantime, anything about the Phillies surprise you in any way this year, Bill?
Yeah, actually, I would have never thought with the lineup they have and the starting pitching that they have that they could lose 5 games in a row. I just think there's too much of both. Maybe the pitcher isn't sharp that day. Aaron Nola's giving up a couple home runs, but that they would hit, and then we turn around and we don't get that done. Then we turn around, we score a bunch of runs and lose the game because we can't pitch. So,
yeah. Hey, you mentioned the fact that they lost 5 in a row. And the one thing about that was, and you saw this last week on Friday after that 5th straight loss, we got another Ricky Botalico rant. So let's check that out.
It's happened last year and the year before, the exact same team. Maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe that's a big part of the problem, that your core has not changed in 3 years.
Has not been upgraded.
And that, to me, is a little bit of a problem, because it seems as though when one person goes in a slump, it's like they all jump in the hole behind them. They're all going in the rabbit hole together. You can't be like that. I'm pretty sure Dave Dombrowski thought, I'm buying 5 guys so I don't have this problem. Or I'm putting $25 million up for these guys so I don't have a problem with 5 guys going in a slump at the same time. But it seems to happen every single year.
Yeah.
This is worse than we've seen.
He's not wrong.
He is 100% correct. And, and that was the big question about, rinse and repeat that we talked about before the season ever started. Are they any better this year than last? And I think if you look at the whole team, and that's why I picked them to win less games this year than last, because I don't think they're as good as they were last year.
Yeah, and you may be right. Hey, let me try something here. Let me see if Ray can at least hear us. Ray, can you hear us? And since we don't hear anything from him, I'm assuming that he cannot hear us, or nothing's working on his end as far as the mic or the video. But we see that he's trying to connect.
There he is.
Is that Ray? Oh, Ray is connecting.
Yeah, I'm here.
There you go, Ray.
Hey. Ray, how are you?
A little frazzled, but otherwise okay.
Good.
Little technical difficulties, Ray.
No, I had promised my wife I would take her to dinner tonight, and we got caught in traffic coming home. So
okay. Well, that's nice that you took your wife to dinner. Ray, we were saying that you've been on with us on our 4th anniversary show, our 5th anniversary, our 10th anniversary a year ago, and this is our 11th anniversary. So thank you for being a part of it once again.
Happy to be here. Sorry I'm late, but I'm happy to be here.
That's okay. We got our Philly stock out of the way. We're good. So Ray, can we talk about the draft with you?
Sure.
All right. You have it all committed to memory. You don't need notes. So let's get it started. I'm going to say, for a retired media guy, you've been awful busy the last few weeks. There it is, the legal pad. I know you love talking football, the draft, the NFL in general. So I'm sure you're okay with giving us your insight on all of that stuff tonight. Sure. First thing, the Eagles' first round pick last Thursday. Do you like the selection? Alabama's Jahad Campbell. And will the Eagles use him as a traditional off-ball linebacker or an edge rusher?
Both, I would expect. I mean, I haven't talked to Vic Fangio about it, but we saw him play both at Alabama, and I would expect he'll play both here. He is very good at both, and I think his versatility is an asset. Thought it was a great pick. I was very surprised to see him available at that point. I didn't think there was any way he would fall to the bottom of the first round. I thought he was too good a player for that. And I wasn't even really projecting him as an Eagles pick because I thought he'd be going way before the Eagles would be in a position to draft him. But it just kept falling and falling and falling. And then all of a sudden, there he was. And, once he got 28, 29, I started thinking he's the guy. And that's why I think Howie Roseman, people thought, why in the world would you give something up to move up one spot? I think his feeling was not necessarily the Chiefs were going to take him, but somebody else would jump in there to take him.
Right.
And when he was that close, I think Howie thought, let's trade up. Let's give him the extra 5 and move up the one spot. Did the same thing last year with Jalen Carter. When they got close to Carter, they moved up one more spot to make sure nobody beat them to the punch. And so you come away with a guy who's a really, really good player. I mean, the only reason he fell, I think, was the shoulder injury, was the torn labrum, which they had surgery for in March. So I guess there's some question about, is he going to be ready for training camp? I don't have any doubts that he'll be ready for the season, but will he be ready to have a full training camp to get ready to start the season? But I mean, other than that, who didn't see Alabama? I mean, they were on TV all the time. Right. And anybody that saw him play knows the kind of player he is. I mean, he's really, really good player who has, he can play the edge. He can play off ball. He can play the other side. He can, he's going to play. I mean, he's capable of being here what Micah Parsons is in Dallas. I mean, when Parsons came out of Penn State, he was a guy that everybody asked the same question: where are you going to put him? And the fact is, you put him everywhere, and he makes plays. And that's what I think Jahad Campbell offers to the Eagles.
Ray, with the Nakobe Dean injury, working on coming back, do you see Campbell being able to step in and be a day one starter for this team, or is he going to have to feel his way in? Is he that talented?
Oh, I think he's certainly that talented. I think if he has, assuming that he doesn't have any setbacks physically, and he gets his work in training camp and the preseason, that he will be on the field to start week 1. I mean, he's too good a player and he's too talented on the bench. And the fact is, the Eagles right now have some holes on their defense. And, I kind of don't think Nakobe Dean's going to be back to start the season. I'd be surprised if he was. So that's another spot. In addition to losing Sweat and Brandon Graham and Williams, you probably aren't going to have Dean to start the year. So that's 4 starters. That's 4 spots you're going to have to fill. And Jahad Campbell's ready to play. He'll play.
Ray, I want to ask you about the Birds' first 4th round pick, defensive tackle Ty Robinson. Brian Baldinger on WIP yesterday said Ty Robinson may end up being better than Milton Williams. What's your take on this 6'5", 288-pound Robinson?
I don't know. It's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah.
I'm not prepared to go there. I mean, the kid hasn't even set foot on an NFL field. Look, I love Baldy, and I think Baldy knows this stuff really well. but I'm not going to start comparing him to a guy that just helped you win a Super Bowl right now before he ever takes a snap. But he is very good, and to get him with the 111th pick, I thought was very surprising. He is a pure inside player, although he has shown a lot of versatility. If you saw Nebraska play, I mean, they used him as a 3 technique. They used him at 4. He even played some nose. He can play a lot of different roles inside. And, Milton Williams is a guy that when he first came out of Louisiana Tech, I don't think a whole lot of people knew much about him. I give the Eagles credit for picking him as high as they did. And he really developed. And by the second half of last year, he was really coming on. And you saw how well he played in the postseason and particularly in the Super Bowl. So you lose him, and that's a significant loss. But you still have Jalen Carter. You still have Jordan Davis. Moro Ojomo, who played a lot late last year and I thought played really well. Yeah. He's back. And, you put Robinson in that mix, you've got 4 young, really talented guys at the defensive tackle rotation who can play really well for you. The thing I like about Robinson is he is really strong. He can play all those different spots, as I said. He can hold the point against a double team, which is important. But for a guy who's big and strong and can play the run, he also shows the ability to rush the passer. Jordan Davis is not a great pass rusher, but you didn't really expect him to be. This guy has shown in college the ability to win quick off the ball and get pressure on the quarterback. So, yeah, I think he was a really good pick, and I think he was an exceptionally good pick in the 4th round.
Hey, Ray, jump back up to number 2, Andrew Mukuba as a safety. 2 things. I guess the first highlight they showed was him knocking somebody's head off that everybody said, well, that's Brian Dawkins. Well, let's not go there so fast. But do you like Mukuba, and does he have the ability to start early for this club? I
think so. I certainly wouldn't compare him to Dawkins. He's a very different kind of player. But I'll tell you who he is like. He's like Gardner Johnson. If you like Gardner Johnson, and there was reason to like him, this kid is that kind of player in the sense that he's not exceptionally physical, certainly not in a Dawkins way, but he's got a real nose for the football. He's around the ball all the time, opportunistic, and gets you takeaways. He had 5 interceptions last year. The only thing that worries me about him a little bit is his frame. He's I'm trying to think what's the best word. He's slender, and I wonder coming up here playing in the NFL against these bigger receivers and bigger blockers, if it's going to be hard for him to stay on the field. He didn't have a big injury history at Texas, so maybe he's that durable, but he's I think one of the things they're probably going to try to do with him with the strength and conditioning guys is they're probably going to try and fill him out a little bit and get some more muscle on him to make sure that he can play. But he's really fast. He's like a 4.47 guy, that's real good speed for a safety. And more than that, to me, he looks very instinctive. He gets a really good jump on the ball. He kind of has a good sense for where the ball's going. Again, a lot like Gardner Johnson. And so, I thought that he was. I was a little bit surprised when I saw his draft grade because people had him projected as a 4th round pick. And so when the Eagles took him in the 2nd round, I saw some people saying that the Eagles reached for this guy. No, he's not a reach. I had him as a 2nd round pick myself, and I thought he went just about where I thought he would go in the mid-60s. And, the Eagles have to find somebody to replace Gardner Johnson, and I think they got a guy here who has a lot of the same traits.
Ray, as I put up the entire Eagles draft picks, anybody else stand out to you on there? Anybody you either thought, wow, that's a great pick, or they should not have taken this guy?
No, I didn't have a feeling, oh no, they shouldn't have taken this guy. I thought they were all really solid picks. I think if you just wanted to lump the 3 offensive linemen together, Kendall, Hinton, and Williams, are all guys who I think can come in here. They all look Very fundamentally sound. They look really well coached. I mean, Kendall looks like a kid that's played a ton of football. Obviously, you're not going to have to ask him to play a lot right away because Juergens is pretty well established at center. But this kid's got some versatility. I mean, he's 6'4", 310 pounds, which is really good size. And if they needed him to learn the guard position, he could play there too. And Hinton and Williams are both listed as tackles. But I've seen Williams play inside. And the Eagles right now do have a hole at right guard. I mean, they're going to have to find somebody to take Beckman's spot. And I guess Steen will get a shot at it. Green, the kid that they acquired in trade, he'll get a shot at it. Trevor Keegan, who they drafted last year, will probably get a shot at it. But don't be surprised if Williams isn't in that conversation once he gets to training camp, because the one thing I saw of him at Texas last year is, man, he is a powerful run blocker and has good feet and mobility for a big man. And the Eagles use their guards on a lot of that inside zone stuff where the guards have to pull and lead. And your guards have to be fairly mobile. And Williams has shown some of that. Now, I don't know as a rookie if he's going to be ready to beat out some guys who have been in your system for some time, which these guys have. But I know Jeff Stoutland well enough to know that whatever these guys have, he's going to get the most out of them. And I think those three guys, I don't know how much they're going to play right away, but I think they all, to me, look like really good guys to develop over time because, at some point you're going to have to replace Lane Johnson. You're going to, you hate to say it, but those guys are all going to have to be replaced at some point. And with these guys coming in and working under Jeff Stoutland, I think whenever that time for transition comes, that these guys could be the guys that can fill that breach.
Hey, Ray, we got to talk about the sixth pick, number 181, quarterback Kyle McCord. Local kid, St. Joe Prep. Do you like that pick? I think he got railroaded out of Ohio State. He probably won the national championship with him as well, but he put up great numbers throughout his college career. Is he a good pick there for the Eagles? Is he a 3 guy for him?
Could be. I mean, they've got obviously he's not going to threaten he's not going to threaten the Super Bowl MVP.
No.
Right.
But he can play in the NFL. I believe that. Yeah. The fact that he's a local kid, South Jersey, St. Joe Prep. I mean, that makes for a nice story. But he has that kind of ability. I mean, he's got that size. He's got a big arm. But he throws a really nice ball. He has really nice touch. I mean, he can throw it. He can fit it into tight spots, but he also has a real nice touch on the ball. He can just sort of loft it over a defender and drop it in a receiver's hands. He did that a lot at Syracuse. And boy, they threw the ball a ton at Syracuse. I mean, he had almost 600 attempts last year. Yeah. So hopefully he's been able to rest that arm in the offseason because it got a lot of work last year. But he was I thought he might go a little higher. I was a little surprised to see him in the 6th round, but good pick for the Eagles. You've got Hurts. You've got McKee, who I think has shown them a lot when he's had the opportunity to play. I mean, he's really good at camp, really good in the preseason, and when he had the chance to play the final game against the Giants, not that it meant anything, but I thought he certainly looked like he belonged. So I think that's why they felt comfortable trading Pickett, that they felt comfortable with this kid as their number 2. And now, that they brought in Dorian Robinson to be in the mix, but I think McCord is going to be here. I think he's going to play a ton in the preseason. I think he's going to play well. And when September rolls around, I don't know how they're going to shake it out or however it's going to be there, but I think McCord is going to be on the roster, maybe the practice squad, maybe your number 3 guy. But I think that's if I had a pick right now, that's kind of where I see his future. I think he'll be here, and I think that there'll be and I think if he gets his opportunity somewhere along the line to play, I think he's capable of playing pretty good.
Ray, as we speak here on April 30th, Dallas Goedert is still an Eagle. Sure sounds like he won't be, though, going forward. The Eagles passed on drafting Mason Taylor, whom our buddy Mark Eckel liked a lot for the Birds. They passed on Bowling Green's Harold Fannin, who was one of your sleeper picks, I heard you say last week. He went to the Browns. Is it possible the Eagles and Goddard will work something out and he'll stick around or not?
I thought that to me is what I took away from the draft. If they were really as committed to moving on from Goddard as everyone seems to think, they probably would have drafted a tight end, I would have thought.
Yeah.
And they had their opportunity to do that. Fannin was a guy who didn't go till the third round. And the Eagles would have been in position to move up to get him if they wanted to. And I think Fannon's really good. I mean, I know nobody pays much attention to Bowling Green football, but I think he's a big time talent. And I don't know how many people saw the Bowling Green Penn State game last year, but he outplayed Warren in that game. And Warren was a first round pick. I mean, this guy's legit. I mean, 1,500 yards this year. And I know what you're going to say about the level of competition. It doesn't matter. I mean, they played some big schools and he played big every week. So I think he's a guy that I think can come in and is going to play in the NFL. He has to be in the right system. I mean, he's not a guy who is now or probably will develop into a big time blocker. I mean, but he is in that mold of the flex tight end who's more of a receiver than a blocker, but a guy who I think can be a real playmaker in the passing game. I did like him a lot. Yeah. He was one of my sleepers, and he went about where I thought. I would have thought third round. That's where he went. But the fact is there were some tight ends in the draft, and the Eagles didn't seem inclined to take a tight end. And I don't know if this is the point that they're making, but I sort of felt like, okay, maybe this is an indication that maybe Dallas Goedert's going to be here, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I was not one of the people that was, rushing him out the door. I think he's been a really good player for this team. I know that he's missed some time. I know he's had injuries, which people get a little unhappy about. But all I know is in the postseason, the run to glory, the run to the parade, this team's leading receiver was Dallas Goedert.
Yeah.
It wasn't Brown and it wasn't Smith. In the postseason, Dallas Goedert was your leading receiver. So, and in addition to being a guy that blocked his butt off. So I'm not all that ready to ship him off for a fifth round draft choice. If it means keeping him for last year of his contract, okay. Better still, if you could work out some kind of like a 1 or 2 year extension to keep him here at a reasonable price, I'd rather do that too. Before the draft, I kind of didn't think that was likely, but the fact that the Eagles went through and picked 10 players and none of them was a tight end suggests to me that, at least now that's sort of in the conversation. And look, I hope that Dallas Goedert is here in week 1. I really do, because I think this is a better team with him on the field.
Ray, I need a clarification from you. I've got to be honest and say I've never heard this or never realized it till this year last week, actually, when they said that Jahan Dotson rookie contract is not going to be extended. Today they announced Jordan Davis contract would be extended. I didn't know they did that. And does that mean that Jahan Dotson is basically playing as a lame duck? How does that work?
I think it kind of does. I think that's kind of what it says to me. Yeah. I mean, they would have had the opportunity to extend if they had chosen to. And the fact that they didn't is kind of significant. I mean, some of this
is it normal to announce that like that though?
No.
Okay.
No. But I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't read a whole lot into it. Yeah, I actually was a little bit surprised. I mean, when they got Dotson, I mean, he obviously projected as your number 3. But I thought he would be a contributor at 3. I thought, the first round draft pick is your number 3 receiver. That's pretty good. And the fact is, over the course of the season, and it's not his fault. He didn't play poorly. They just didn't seem to incorporate him in the offense. Mm-hmm. And are they disenchanted? Are they disappointed? I don't know. But they didn't seem to make a move with him, but they did with Davis. I don't know how to interpret that. But it may mean a lot or it may mean nothing. I really don't know.
Yeah, I thought when they picked Robinson that meant kind of the end for Davis. That they wouldn't re-up him when they drafted Robinson, but who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that you could possibly keep You could possibly keep 4 guys at that position. I know this is a team that really loads up at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. I mean, that's kind of how they're built. And it would not shock me to see them keep all those guys and use them in multiple ways. I mean, Carter is obviously your key guy. And Ajomo, while he was promising last year, it's a fairly small sampling. They've got a significant investment in Davis. And Robinson is a player with a lot of promise. I mean, right now, it's conceivable you could keep all 4 of those guys. You really could.
Hey, Ray, we talked a lot about the draft. A couple other things we got to get to before we let you go. The Eagles having won another Super Bowl champion, maybe I just dreamt this, or is it for real, that there's going to be another update of the Eagles encyclopedia?
True. True. Yeah, I mean, you kind of had to do it, when they won another Super Bowl, it sort of cried out for an update of the book. The one that you just held up, that was edition number 3. And we called it Champions Edition for obvious reasons. And I talked to the guys at Temple University Press, who were the publishers, at mid-season last year. And I said, hey, guys, we might want to start thinking about possibly revising the book, rewriting the book yet again. Because I said, I think there's a chance this team could go all the way.
And look what I found.
And there it is. That's the book. That's the book that will be coming out in the fall. And it's called Eagles Encyclopedia Champions 2. And that is the Eagles' whole history from day 1 all the way up through Super Bowl 59. So it was probably the toughest writing assignment I ever had, in the sense that I had all the copy had to be in by March the 7th. That was my deadline. So I had 4 weeks to turn around a 512-page book. So needless to say, I didn't leave my office very much. But I made deadline. Everything was in. And now everything is in the hands of the printers. And so I'll be proofreading it over the off season, and hopefully come the fall, there will be a new Eagles Encyclopedia on the bookshelves for everyone to rush out and buy, and it will make a splendid Christmas present.
And Ray, you've got a busy fall. I know Bill wants to ask you about some of the stuff you've got going on in the fall.
Yeah, Ray, I think when we had you last time, we talked about a show that you were going to do with Glenn and Joe Conklin. I want to say in October in Westchester. Do I have that right? Does that still go?
That is correct. We are doing our show, which is called The Greatest Moments in Philadelphia Sports History. We've done it a couple of times. We did it 3 times last year, and we just did it a couple weeks ago up at the Colonial Theater in Phoenixville, which is a great old theater. It's where they play, where the movie The Blob plays. They do an annual Blobathon where everybody runs in and they run out in the street screaming. It's that theater, great theater. And we did the show there a couple weeks ago, and people loved it. Obviously, you're coming off the Super Bowl. Everybody's still on a Super Bowl high. So we had a great night. And then come October the 15th, we're going to do it again at the Uptown Performing Arts Center in Westchester. And it's the ultimate Philadelphia sports highlight show. It's me, it's Glenn, and it's Joe. And we do our countdown of what we consider to be the top 10 moments in Philadelphia sports history, along with a few honorable mentions thrown in. Glenn and I do the background, we do the history, we do the stats, and Joe brings the comedy and the voices. And it's a real fun night. So if folks want to come out, we'll be there October 15th, the Uptown Theater in Westchester.
Count me in.
Yeah, I'm going to do my best to be there too, Ray.
And Ray, you got something else going on this fall also.
Yeah, even more than that. Tommy and me is coming back. Tommy and me is coming back we did the show at People's Light Theater in Malvern in January. And it went so well, they sold out the whole run, extended it by a week, and we still sold the whole thing out. And they decided they wanted to bring it back. So we're going to bring Tommy and me back to People's Light in Malvern in October the 7th through the 19th. So if folks have not seen Tommy and me, or if you have seen it, but you want to see it again, you'll have your opportunity at People's Light. And this time they're moving us into the big theater on the campus. Last time when we were there in January, we were in their small theater, the Steinbright Theater. And this time they moved us into the big theater. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then right before that, my new play my new play that I just wrote over the last year will be coming to the Delaware Theater Company. It's called Spinner. And that will open September 17th and run through October the 5th. So I will literally have those two plays running almost back to back. And Spinner is not a football. It's a true story, but it's not a football story. This one is about ice hockey. So it's a little bit different and very different in tone. It's a lot. All I can say is it's a lot different than Tommy and me. Okay. But I've got those two plays running back to back right around the same time that the book's coming out. So Bill, to your point, it's going to be a very busy fall. Yes.
Yeah. How's retirement, right?
Don't let my wife hear you say that. We were having that very discussion while we were sitting in traffic coming back here tonight.
I'm sure you were.
Hey, Ray, one final question I have for you on the Eagles, since you're talking about your updating your book and all. We haven't talked to you since the Super Bowl. How good was this Eagles team? This is the best Eagles team that they've had last year?
Yes. The best.
There you go.
And I, as somebody who's written the history of this team multiple times, I feel confident in saying that. Up until now, I've always said that I thought that the 49 team was the greatest team in Eagles history. That was the team that had Van Buren. Bednarik was a rookie. They had 4 Hall of Famers. They went 11-1. Won the championship by shutout for the second year in a row. Clearly the dominant team in pro football at that time. I always pointed to that as the greatest team in Eagles history. This team, I think, was better. When you look at 10-game winning streak, club record, 14 wins, and the way they just rolled through the postseason. I mean, the point differential was just ridiculous. Scored 55 points in the conference championship game.
Yeah.
And then in the Super Bowl against a 2-time defending Super Bowl champion. That was your opponent. With the 2-time champs going for 3 in a row, you dropped 40 on them and you could have probably scored 50.
Yeah.
I mean, it was domination with a capital D. And so, yeah, I mean, I got to say this was the best team in Eagles history, and that Super Bowl is the best game this franchise ever played. So one thing I've told a lot of people is enjoy this.
Yeah.
Enjoy this. Don't start. And I'm already hearing it. People are picking it apart. Look, it's almost like they're looking for things to criticize. Enjoy it. Okay. I mean, for the first time, I think probably in any of our lives, you can actually sit back and say, you know what? The Eagles are the best team in football. They're the best. They're the standard now. Everybody's chasing them, and when they won the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 52, they won the championship that year. Were they the best team in the league? Probably not. But they took advantage of the opportunity and they won, and good for them. But this team was the best team by the end of the year. There was no question about that. I mean, anybody that watched that championship game knows that they were the best team in the league. And all the other years when the Eagles won it, I mean, 1960, God, I loved that team. And then Tommy McDonald, I loved that team, but they were underdogs. The Vermeil team, they were underdogs. All these other teams that have kind of gotten to the championship game always came in as underdogs. That's not the case anymore. Right now, the Eagles are the best team in football. And you know what? The way they're built, they might be there for a while. So I'm telling people, just relax and enjoy the moment, okay? Because those of us that are old enough to remember Franklin Field, Norm Snead, and Joe Kuharich. We waited a lifetime for the opportunity to be able to sit back and look at the rest of the NFL and say, hey, you're chasing us. we're the top dog. Well, that's finally true. So just lighten up and enjoy it. That'd be my message to the fans.
Ray, this was awesome. We'll let you run and find 15, 20 minutes for us the first week of September before your fall gets crazy, because we'll preview the 2025 Eagle season.
I look forward to it, fellas. I look forward to it. Always hanging out with you guys. Again, I apologize for being a little late, but I promise I will be here ready to go in September.
Worth the wait, believe us. Thanks, Ray.
We appreciate you.
Take care, fellas. See ya. Bye-bye.
Hey, Chet, Philly Pressbox Radio is now part of the STT Sports Network, as in Set the Trends. It's a network set up by our pal Phil Stiefel, host of the terrific Trending in the AM show that you can find every weekday morning on the STT Sports Network YouTube channel. Check out Phil and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Phil's show is on there, and so is ours. Yep, you can find Philly Pressbox Radio there, in addition to our own YouTube channel and on Facebook page. Again, it's STT Sports Network, setting the trends for what sports talk should be.
Yeah. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
You look like you were counting the stars or something.
Actually, someone looked at me. Hey, tell us what's going on over at the Irish Rover Station House.
Oh, I'd be happy to. Always good to visit the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, and there are a bunch of special events on the schedule for May. For example, this great Irish bar is celebrating, Cinco de Mayo in the days ahead with a nice tequila tasting event Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m., plus Cinco de Mayo margarita, Corona, and food specials from Thursday through Sunday. Yeah, tequila. And hey, with Mother's Day fast approaching, it is time to call the Irish Rover and make a reservation to celebrate Mom on Sunday, May 11th. Sunday, May 11th, of course, with a Mother's Day brunch. There are 2 different seatings from which to choose, 10 a.m. and noon. Call to reserve a table, 215-970-5412. The Irish Rover Station House is on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne, and you can find them on the web at irishroverstationhouse.com. And Bill, I want to tell you also about something else going on this weekend, but first...
Hey everybody, this is Anthony Wolf Liberto from the Burning Sky Band, and you're watching Philly Pressbox Radio with my guys, Bill and Chet. Hope to see you soon at one of our shows.
Yeah, those guys, the Burning Sky Band, will be part of a great lineup of tribute bands playing at a festival in Williamstown, New Jersey this Sunday from 1 to 7. It's a benefit event. I don't have the info in front of me right now, but check burningskyband.com or theburningskyband.com or find them on Facebook. Burning Sky Band.
You going to try to be there?
Yeah, I am actually going to try.
Good deal. Hey, we got to talk about our anniversary, but while we're talking about our sponsors, let's take care of our last one next before we get to that. So let's talk about what could be better than a summer of Phillies baseball and tailgating with the best tailgaters in Philadelphia, Bob Cavanaugh and the gang at Cavs Philly Tailgates.
I'll gladly tell you about those guys. Cavs Philly Tailgates has been cooking up a terrific catering business for 35 years now. You know them for their tailgate parties. Cavs is a 3-time winner of Philly Tailgates Jack Daniels Great American Tailgate Party Contest and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award. Cavs does corporate events, parties, whatever, you name it. Of course, Cav hosts tailgates before all Eagles games outside the link. And there will be various tailgates outside Citizens Bank Park this summer as well, for example. One before a big Phillies-Mets battle on June 21st. Another before a Phillies-Orioles game with a busload or two of folks from Baltimore joining in the fun. How about that? Get all the details on every single upcoming event at Cavs' website, phillytailgates.com. And if you have questions, you can email them at cavscatering@verizon.net. By the way, Cav and his partner Vince at Philly Sports Trips are already taking bookings for a 6-day Clearwater spring training trip next March. Yeah, keep that in mind. Cavs Philly Tailgates is the way to go.
All right. Hey, Chet, as we said at the top of the show, we're celebrating our 11th anniversary tonight with show number 546. Hard to believe, Harry, as they say. Only Flyers captain Sean Couturier, who was a rookie in the 11-12 season, and Eagles Pro Bowler Lane Johnson, who was a rookie in 2013, are the only remaining players from when we started this fun little podcast.
Yeah, confirmation that we've been doing this for a long time, Bill. With Brandon Graham's retirement, those two guys that you mentioned are the only ones that were active players in the spring of 2014 when we began, 11 years ago tonight, exactly. Now, for anyone wondering, about 6 weeks later, in June of 2014, the 76ers drafted Joel Embiid out of Kansas. Remember that? Who, of course, didn't play for 2 full years. He debuted in the fall of 2016 due to foot injuries. Go figure. And the Phillies in June of 2014 drafted Aaron Nola, although he didn't make his Phillies debut till 13 months later in July of 2015. But, Bill, I want to ask you this. I don't know if you remember, but we had planned to do our debut show that Wednesday, April 30th of 2014 at 7 p.m. But we ended up in the last day or two ahead of that, switching it to 6 p.m. that evening. Do you remember why?
I can't say I do.
Because there was a Flyers-Rangers opening round Game 7. Okay, so we said, well, with that game starting at 7, we're a new show. Who the hell's going to tune us in at 7 o'clock when the Flyers and Rangers are facing off? So we moved it up till 6 p.m. And let me show you something. This is some of the box score on the Flyers end of it. Tough to see, but some of these names that you'll see for the Flyers, Sean Couturier, yeah, he was on the ice, along with some memorable Flyers like Claude Giroux, Scott Hartnell, Wayne Simmons, Jake Voracek, and Kimmo Timonen. But check out some of the other names like Vinny LeCavalier. What a bust he was as a Flyer. Adam Hall, who? The Shen brothers. Yeah, they were both on the Flyers for a year or two. Braden Coburn and Mark Streit. And the legendary Steve Mason in goal. The head coach, Craig Berube.
Yeah, and Chief is still winning, and the Shen brothers are still playing.
Are they really? Both of them?
Yeah, I think both of them. One for sure.
Gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, go figure. And Scott Hartnell's name was on there. I saw that as well.
Well, he's certainly around in the broadcast or the post-game show.
Yep. Chet, as I was thinking about this today, I was thinking to myself, 11 years. And, it made me think of the guys like my buddy Harry DeJesse and Fred Burns and John Roberts and Frank Kolachny, guys that were with us from the start who are no longer with us, that came and went and were great friends to our show. And, it kind of makes you reminisce about this stuff because time flies by. 11 years seems like a long time, but geez, it seems like we just started this.
Yeah, I know. Time does fly and we are having fun. Bill, I don't know if you know this, but I did a little math myself today. Speaking of coaches, we had 4 interim coaches, 3 of them with the Flyers during our 11 years, and a total of 19 different coaches or managers, 7 of them with the Flyers. And Bill, I'm going to give you $10 if you can name the 2 Flyers interim head coaches not named Brad Shaw during that span of time.
Oh, jeez. I'm not even going to guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten this either. Scott Gordon and Mike Yeo. They both finished out. Yeah, they both finished out a couple of seasons. Here's the list of Flyers coaches: Craig Berube, Dave Haxtell, and then when they fired Haxtell early in the final year of his 3rd year, they replaced him with Scott Gordon. Then we got Alain Vigneault for a couple of seasons. When he got fired, Mike Yeo finished out that season. Then we got Torts. Torts was the longest tenured, almost 4 full seasons. And then, of course, they let him go in favor of Brad Shaw. Believe it or not, the easiest bunch of coaches to remember would be the Sixers. They only had 3 head coaches in that time span: Brett Brown, Doc Rivers, and Nick Nurse. And by the way, Doc Rivers out of the playoffs early yet again.
A surprise.
Yeah.
A surprise.
What an overrated bum.
Yeah. Well, and as you look at it, we've been here for a couple Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowls, 2 that we won. But it's been a little bit of slim pickings. We've had a good run with the Phillies, but never won the World Series there. We didn't win anything with the Sixers. We didn't win anything with the Flyers.
Phillies managers, Ryan Sandberg, Pete McKinnon, Gabe Kapler, of course, Joe Girardi, and Rob Thompson. Eagles have only had 3 full-time head coaches since we started, the legendary Chip Kelly. Do you remember who coached the final game of his 3rd season as the interim coach?
No.
Pat Shurmur.
Pat Shurmur. Yeah, I know that. I just.
Yeah. And then, of course, Dougie P. and Nick Sirianni. So there you go, Bill. Man,
many great players have come and gone, too.
Oh, my goodness. And you know what? We've had a lot of great guests on our show. Here's the list, the updated list now of our top visiting guests. Ray Didinger and Brandon Lee Gouton now, both 26. D. Lyman, 24. Mark Eckel, who we just had on last week, 22. We've had former players like Kevin Riley 18 times and Freddie Barnett 10 times, former Flyer Bob Hound Kelly 7 times, and a lot of other distinguished journalists like, Keith Pompey, Mike Sealski, Tom Moore, Meltzer, Bob Brookover, Paul Hagan. The list goes on and on. Sam Carchidi. And, of course, we've had Merrill Reese every year the last 10 years now. So we've been fortunate, Bill.
Yeah, well, that was the other thing I was thinking about, too, is we've had opportunities to have Hall of Famer Dick Vermeil, Hall of Famer Bernie Perrant, Hall of Famer Bill Barber, not to mention
Judy Arnold,
the
legendary Philadelphia Warrior.
Yeah, my guy Bill Berge was on with us.
Yeah,
so many guys and girls, more guys than girls, but so many Philadelphia sports legends. And Chet, something I'm really proud of that you and I have had the opportunity to be part of the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame voting now.
How about that?
And that's something I know you don't take lightly. I don't either. It's to be a part of that, to be asked to be part of that is really something special to me, for sure.
Absolutely. You got to go for the first time last November. You're going to plan to, make sure you're there this November 6th for the next class of inductees. But we want to thank all of our guests for, joining us many cases, 26 times, to our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs Philly Tailgates, the PPCC 118 Raz Room, our pal Phil Stiefel at the STT Sports Network, our former colleague, I guess you would call him, Big Al from Edge of Philly Sports, and especially, though, to our regular viewers. You know who you are. We appreciate each and every one of you.
That's right. Couldn't say it any better. With that said, Chet, who's coming to Philly Pressbox Radio? They're going to have a hard time following up on Ray Diddy.
As we begin year 12 together, Bill, hard to believe. Next week, we have another one of our favorites joining us for a 4th straight year to talk about the entire Philadelphia sports scene. This guy is great. You know him from Sports Radio, WIP in Philadelphia, and nationally, the Infinity Sports Network, the great Jody McDonald. Always fun to chat with the Mac Man. Yeah. And Bill, I have a late edition for next week's show. This was just confirmed literally about an hour before our show tonight, but I did find a picture to put up. I'm going to have a taped chat from earlier that day with Willie Nile. The great Willie Nile joining us next week because he's got a new album coming out in June, and he's got a bunch of show dates in Philadelphia, New Jersey, and New York over the next couple of months as well. In fact, he is opening for the Hooters on May 17th at the Met in Philly. Of course, I'll be there.
There you go. Hey, one other thing I want to throw out we missed. Of our 546 shows, I don't know how many guests that makes because we've had multiple guests many times. Kevin McClure, guest number one. Number one. Kevin was our guy. We gave him, we got him with us the first time, and we've been on a roll since then. Thanks to Kevin.
And let me tell you this, our guest number 2 was a guy that you arranged, Fran Duffy, who worked for the Eagles for many, many years, kind of a draft guru. And now he's on PHLY in Philly. Yes. He's going to be coming back for the first time in 6 years, sometime next month. So he was on right before the draft, I think the first 5 years that we did this show. And we're going to get him back on the show next month.
And he's still a draft guru, even though he's not with the Eagles anymore. He's
that he is.
He is all over it. That'll be great. We'll cover the Eagles and a lot more.
Yeah. Bad news. We ran out of time, so we will not be able to get Bill Belichick or Bill Belichick's girlfriend on the show tonight. We were going to have a segment with his 24-year-old girlfriend, but sorry, can't make it.
And we didn't get to talk about Shedeur Sanders, but we'll save that for when we talk to Fran.
But we had a good time. Our
Yes,
546th show, wrapping up year 11 of Philly Pressbox Radio.
And
Wrap
we
it up, Bill.
appreciate everybody. That's for sure. Let's thank tonight's special guest, Ray Didinger. Our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs Philly Tailgates, PPCC 118 Raz Room. For Jim Chet Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll join Philly Pressbox Radio next Wednesday, May the 7th at 7 p.m. You see us live on Facebook, on our Philly Pressbox Radio YouTube channel, and on the STT Sports Network YouTube channel. And listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans, and let's go Phillies.
Let's go, Phils.
Happy trails to you till we meet again.